ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. Welcome to this segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation is the 59th Sabad in Rag Asa, composition of the 4th Nanak, Guru Ram Das. The recitation. Asa Mahalla Chautha Gurmukh Har Har Vel Vadhai Phal Lage Har Rasak Rasai. Har Har Naam Japi Anat Taranga Jap Jap Naam Gurmati Salahi Marya Kal Jam Kankar Bhayanga Rahao. Har Har Gur Meh Bhagt Rakhai Gur Tutta Sikh Deve Mere Pai. How मैं कर्म किछ बिद नहीं जाने ज्यों कुंचर नाए खाक सिर छाणे. जे वड भाग होवै ऊड वड ऊंचे नानक नाम जपै सच सूचे. जे वड भाग होवै वड ऊंचे नानक नाम जपै सच सूचे. Guru Ram Das is instructing us on what is the summum bonum of Gurmat, the summit of achievement, which is self-realization. And self-realization is to achieve one's potential through the liberating knowledge of Guru wisdom. So it is this summum bonum that Guru Ram Das is talking about. And he says, Gurmukh Har Har Vel Vadhai. Those who are Gur-guided, Gurmukhs, who achieve self-realization, Har Har Vel Vadhai, they have extended the vine or creeper or embroidery of the Har self, and we will talk about that in a minute. So they who achieve self-realization are called Gurmukhs, and they in fact extend the embroidery of the Har self. Phal lage har rasak rasai. The Gurmukh life bears the fruit of self-knowledge because it is ripe, it has been made mature. So the way that a Gurmukh extends Vel Vadhai, extend this creeper or plant, actually a design, is to extend this possibility to generations to follow. Because what the Gurmukh has achieved is to ground self-realization in human nature. What the Gurmukh shows is that this is possible within the body. So when the Gurmukh anywhere achieves self-realization and the light goes on, it is actually a signal to the rest of humanity. It is like when someone climbs the summit of a mountain. The first time that Mount Everest was conquered, it became a possibility for the rest of humanity. Similarly, when a Gurmukh anywhere achieves self-realization, it becomes a possibility for the rest of us. And so what the Gurmukh is doing, essentially, is moving the evolutionary principle of Hukum forward. And in the Rahao, the Guru is telling us how to do this. He says, Har Har Naam Japi Anant Taranga. Anant Taranga, infinite waves. The reference here is to the infinite waves of thought that arise in the mind. The mind is filled with waves of thought that arise and ebb and flow. So the Guru says, Har Har Naam Japi Anant Taranga. Amidst the infinite waves of thought that arise in the mind. In other words, living in the world when there is so much going on around you, even then, Har Har Naam Japi, be mindful. Be mindful of the Har Self. Go about your business with mindfulness. So in everything that you do, be mindful of the self within you so that you make the right decision, so that your response is the correct one. That is the way to, this is how you practice Naam Japi day and night. Otherwise, if Naam Japi was simply something, an activity that you did in the morning or evening, you could not do it saas giras. Impossible. So the only way to do it is to be mindful at every moment, in every action, in every thought. So the Guru says if you do that, Jap Jap Naam Gurmati Salahi. So what happens is you begin to assimilate the qualities of the Guru. And then the result, Marya Kal Jamakankar Poyanga. So here, Kal is time or death. Jam Kankar. Kankar means a servant, an attendant. Jam is another word for Kal. Bhuyanga, a serpent. The serpent of time. So what happens when you practice Naam Japi in the way that the Guru has just told us? Marya Kal Jamakankar Bhuyanga. You're able to control or you hold at bay the serpent of time. So, what does it mean to hold the serpent of time at bay? It means very simply to free oneself from the hold of the past. You see, Haume lives on the past and then projects the future from the past. And that is what is the source of all misery. So, Marya Kal Jamakankar Bhuyanga means two things. One is you erase the past, you get over the past, and with it, the illusion of death. Because when you think of the past, as in time, you think of the future, and the future holds death, and the ego is terrified of death. So, Naam Japi helps you to control that. And so with that, you get rid of the illusion of death as well. In other words, you transcend time-space consciousness. Haume is nothing more than time-space consciousness. You are rising above the limitations of time-space consciousness. And when you do that, you realize that the self is not bound by time and space. It is free of all of this, and therefore it is free of the illusion of death. And where is the Har Self to be found? Har Har Gur Meh Bhagat Rakhai. The Har Self embeds its essence in the enlightener Gur, in the Gur. Gur Tutthe Sikh Deve Mere Pai. And when the enlightener Gur is pleased, it will give you this revelation. So Gur wisdom, the Gur, is a method, is a specialized knowledge that does not follow the usual rules of logic or discursive exchange. It is not intellectual knowledge. So the Gur here in this stanza signifies this special spiritual knowledge, which we call self-knowledge, Adhyatmak Gyan, as well as the source of that knowledge. And the source could be embodied as it was in the Sikh Gurus. So for Guru Ram Das, who composed this Shabad, the source of Gur was Guru Ram Das. And in our times, the source, the Gur, is embedded in a text. So to please the Gur, the giver of this knowledge, implies that there is always an element of grace that is at play. Otherwise, self-realization would degenerate and become just another egoic accomplishment. So there has to be that element of grace that is beyond our control. How में कर्म किछ बिद नहीं जाने, ज्यों कुंचर नाए खाक सिर छाने. Now you see why there is an element of grace, because Haume-centric actions performed from the fulcrum of the Haume, are immature, they're undisciplined. They do not follow the right method for self-realization. Kish bid nahi jane. So to follow Gur wisdom, as we all do, but still persist in Haume, as we all do, is self-defeating and counterproductive. It makes no sense to be engaged with Gurbani and still carry Haume ego within you. The Guru says, it is like an elephant spraying dirt on itself after a bath. Jio kunchar nae khak sir chhanne. That is how it is for us to be in ego and be attached to Guru wisdom. You cannot do it both at the same time. And now the Guru speaks about destiny. Je vad bhag hove vad uche, Nanak naam jape, sach suche. Sach suche. Suche means to be purified. So what are we being purified of? What are we cleansing? So the Guru says Nanak, they who realize the eternal self within, they who recognize the self, the Har, within, they are purified and cleansed. What are they purified of? Suche. They are purified of the blemish, the stain of Haume. Haume is the stain on our self. Because it shadows the self, we cannot see the self. It is the blemish. So self-realization means to cleanse oneself of the ego. And the Guru says, Je Vadapag, if we were so favored, we could touch the summit of human existence. Hove Vad Uche. And that is the summum bonum of human existence. On that note, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.